This week, we've been exploring family tragedies. Cases where the greatest danger wasn't somebody outside the home, it was already living inside it. I almost include this case in the series, until this case turned out to be different. Tonight, we're going to Winfield, Kansas, and the deaths of Carol, Ronald Jr., Sarah, and little Kelly. The warning signs weren't completely invisible in the beginning. In fact, police had been called to this family's home more than 20 times. Child welfare authorities knew them. Their children's school knew them. Neighbours were afraid of them. One officer literally wrote, "Use caution when dealing with these two." Then, on the morning of August 11th, 2026, Ronald Williams Sr. picked up the phone, called 911, and calmly told a dispatcher his family was dead. Welcome to the podcast You Can't Unhear. Winfield sits in southeast Kansas, around 45 miles southeast of Wichita. Population, roughly 12,000. It's the kind of small American city where agriculture, manufacturing, schools, churches, and Southwestern College form much of the rhythm of daily life. Then in 2024, a family moved into a rental property at 408 West 9th Avenue. Ronald H. Williams Sr., his partner Kelly George, and their 4 children. Carol was 9, Ronald Jr. was 7, Sarah was 5, and Kelly Magee-Williams was 3. But Ronald wasn't arriving in Winfield with a clean history. Far from it. Ronald was 53 by 2026, and Kansas corrections records show a criminal history reaching back decades. Most significantly, he had been convicted in 1998 of 2 counts of attempted indecent liberties with a child in Wyandotte County. That placed him on the Kansas Sex Offender Registry. Other convictions included aggravated battery, violation of a protection order, and theft. Reporting based on court and corrections records describes a much broader history of arrests and charges, including violence. So this wasn't someone with one ancient minor conviction, followed by a completely uneventful life. There had been a pattern. But after the family moved to Winfield, another pattern began appearing. One that wasn't necessarily criminal, but was increasingly strange. According to police records obtained through Kansas Open Records requests, Winfield officers had more than 20 interactions involving Ronald and Kelly over roughly 2 years. And many of those calls came from Ronald and Kelly themselves. They reported conspiracies, people following them, identity theft, mail tampering, medical fraud, workers near their home supposedly being involved in crimes. At one point, they accused people of killing Kelly's relatives and stealing their identities. They believed DCF employees were driving near their house to watch them. Police repeatedly arrived, listened, tried to understand what exactly the complaint was, and often left without filing a formal report. During one 2024 interaction, an officer wrote, "I believe they are either both suffering from mental health issues or are taking illegal narcotics due to their agitated state and delusions." Then the officer added, "Use caution when dealing with these two." And that sentence is difficult to read now, because nothing had happened yet. The 4 children were still alive. The children attended Irving Elementary School for part of the 2024-25 school year, but eventually they were removed. The school district later confirmed they weren't enrolled during the following year and weren't registered to return. State education records showed a homeschool registered at the family's address called Williams Private School Family Owned. That meant another layer of ordinary outside contact, teachers, classmates, school staff, was disappearing. At the same time, the Kansas Department for Children and Families, shortened as DCF, was already interacting with the household. Police said DCF had an open case involving the family, although the agency has declined to publicly explain the details because child welfare records are confidential. And Ronald and Kelly's relationship with DCF was increasingly hostile. According to police records, DCF contacted law enforcement twice because Ronald and Kelly had become aggressive enough at a local office that staff discussed banning them. Then, in June 2026, only about 2 months before the killings, police ordered Ronald out of the DCF office. He was told that if he returned, he could be treated as a trespasser. Again, that doesn't mean DCF knew the children were about to be killed. It doesn't mean the police had enough legal evidence to remove them. But it shows the family wasn't invisible. Multiple institutions had encountered pieces of what was happening. And outside the house, neighbors were noticing things too. In October 2024, a woman walking her dog reported that Ronald pulled a firearm on her. Ronald told police he had been protecting himself from the dog. The woman declined to pursue charges. Then, in October 2025, a FedEx driver reportedly used the family's driveway to turn around. Ronald came outside, confronted him, and allegedly displayed a gun again. No case from either incident ultimately put Ronald behind bars. There were also reports of gunfire around the property, although police said they didn't always find enough evidence to take enforcement action. Police Chief Robbie DeLong later explained the problem bluntly. Being erratic, even being mentally ill, doesn't automatically give police legal authority to intervene. For officers to act, there generally has to be evidence that somebody is in immediate danger. And apparently that threshold was never clearly reached. Until it was too late. There was another strange moment. Ronald's own mother requested a welfare check. Police spoke with him, and according to records, Ronald said he was cutting people out of his life. We don't know exactly what he meant, and it would be irresponsible to treat every unusual sentence retrospectively as proof that murder was already being planned. But again, after what happened, the comment takes on a different weight. Then came August 2026. On August 7th, a neighbour's doorbell camera captured Ronald outside. He was loading items into a vehicle, yelling, swearing, apparently furious. The footage spread widely after the deaths because it captured his agitation only 4 days before the shootings. Neighbours later described being frightened of him. One woman said his behaviour had made her wonder whether he might eventually hurt his family. And still, August 10th came and went. The 4 children went to sleep. Then, Tuesday morning arrived. At approximately 8:50 a.m., Winfield Dispatch received a 911 call. The caller identified himself as Ronald Williams Sr. And according to Police Chief Robbie DeLong, Ronald told the dispatcher that he had killed his family and that he intended to kill himself. The call was brief. Officers happened to already be nearby, handling another incident. They rushed toward West 9th Avenue. And as the first officer approached the house, they heard one gunshot. It was around 8:52. Then, silence. Police didn't know what that gunshot meant. Was Ronald alive? Was someone else inside armed? Could there still be survivors? With no clear visual information, officers treated the house as a possible barricade situation. They established a perimeter and waited. Almost 2 hours passed. Then, at approximately 10:57 a.m., officers breached the front door. Inside, they found 6 people with gunshot wounds. Ronald, 53, Kelly George, 44, and all 4 children. Carol, 9, Ronald Jr, 7, Sarah, 5, Kelly, 3. Everyone was pronounced dead. That afternoon, the case seemed horrifying but straightforward. Ronald had called 911 and said he'd killed his family. Police believed he'd shot Kelly, shot their 4 children, then killed himself when officers arrived. That was the version initially released publicly by authorities. The father was the perpetrator, Kelly and the children were victims, and Winfield began mourning. Flowers, stuffed animals, angels appeared outside the little house on West 9th. But investigators weren't finished processing the scene. And 3 days later, everything changed. The Kansas Bureau of Investigation released an update, and the wording was extraordinarily specific. Investigators no longer believed an argument or sudden physical confrontation had triggered the shooting. Instead, KBI said the evidence indicated Ronald Williams Sr. and Kelly George jointly shared culpability for premeditated plans to kill their children and then themselves. Read that again. Not Ronald alone. Ronald and Kelly, both parents. And importantly, KBI said this was premeditated. Not a fight that suddenly escalated. Not a spontaneous breakdown that morning. According to investigators, there had been a plan. Then came another detail. Investigators located documentation showing that Kelly George purchased a Taurus .38 special revolver in February 2025. That same gun was recovered inside the home after the killings. KBI has not publicly explained all of the evidence that led investigators to conclude Kelly participated in the plan. And that's important. We shouldn't fill that gap ourselves. The fact that she bought the gun alone does not prove she planned murder. But investigators apparently found additional evidence sufficient for them to publicly conclude. Both parents shared culpability. Police Chief Robbie DeLong later acknowledged how shocking that development was for the community, because only days earlier, people had believed Kelly died alongside the children as Ronald's 5th victim. So, who shot whom? We don't know. At least, authorities haven't publicly provided that full reconstruction yet. And because there will never be a trial, those details may depend entirely on whatever the final investigative report reveals. KBI says when its investigation is completed, its findings will be presented to the Cowley County Attorney. There is nobody alive to prosecute. But there are still 4 children whose deaths deserve an accurate accounting. How could nobody stop this? More than 20 police contacts, DCF involvement, and more. They look enormous when you stack everything together. The system had pieces, but no single interaction apparently gave anyone enough to predict. 4 children were going to be killed. It's also tempting, given the documented paranoia and delusional statements, to simply label this a mental health tragedy. But we don't have diagnoses establishing what Ronald or Kelly were experiencing. Police themselves weren't sure whether they were seeing untreated psychiatric illness, substance use, or something else. And even if serious mental illness were eventually documented, that wouldn't explain everything. What investigators can say is that the couple repeatedly displayed erratic behavior, and that evidence now points to premeditation. Those 2 things can coexist. Maybe one day, the final investigative file will tell us more. What was found inside the house. But right now, this case leaves us with something more uncomfortable. At first, the country heard the story of a father who destroyed his family. 3 days later, investigators told us something even darker. According to the evidence, the children didn't have one dangerous parent inside that house. They had 2. Thanks for joining me tonight. Don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss any updates about this case. And remember, we still have a couple of episodes for the Family Tragedy series this week. Until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and I'll see you on the next episode of the podcast You Can't Unhear.